So, thank you for coming back. I am going to be making a video today about different knives. I wanted to make a video before the year closed out. I will go into a little detail about the Combat Commander from the last video. That'll be at the end. But I wanted to do a little overview about knives because I feel like that's one thing that I'm lacking on this channel. I have a few knives in front of me, starting from the very first rendition of the K-bar by Cutmaster all the way up until a knife I made to replicate an old school Bowie knife. So I'm going to flip the camera around and get into detail. I'll be going off the top of my head for each one of these knives in order to discuss where I got them, how much I paid, how I got them, and what they are, what they originate from, and their use. One question I tend to get a lot is, where do you find all this stuff? The other question I get is, why do you have so many? Well, I'm a collector. That's what I do. I collect. Each one has its own history and provenance. That's something that can't be bought at the store. You got to look around. Antique store. Friends who have the same hobbies. Collectors. Yard sales. That's how I find these things. You can too if you're interested in looking for these. Unexpected places will have these knives sometimes. You just gotta take the time to look. You can buy any old knife at the store, but a knife with history behind it is gonna come at a premium. You don't always have to pay a premium. Right place, right time. But if you're like me, you're off during the week, work weekends, those are the best times to go out and look. The older generations are out there selling, and I'm out there buying. So you can do the same thing. You go to an antique store. Do your research though. You'll see things like this one. You'll see different variations. Look them up. Use your Google Lens or whatever you have. Do some research. Make sure you're not overpaying. But I'll conclude by saying, if you want it and you like it and it speaks to you, go ahead and get it. Don't go without eating or paying your bills to buy any of this stuff. But if you have a couple dollars and you want it, especially like this Western knife, did I need it? No. I wanted it because it's a curiosity and it's different. Never seen one before. In no particular order, here's all the knives I would like to go over tonight. I'm going to start off left to right. First, with this case knife. It's a USM 3. Now, I found this knife. Let's come over here. I found this knife, and I wish I still had the original photos, in very bad condition. As you can see in the front of the blade, on the very towards the tip, there's some gouging. Now, when I found this, it had no handle, and the crossbar here, the cross guard, this was bent down, this was bent up. Now you're gonna see I got movement here, and on the base plate you can see that this is all mangled up and it's not flush with the grip. The grip itself is stacked leather. I experimented a little bit with doing stack leather. This is my first attempt at it. This will be redone again down the road. Unfortunately, the base plate here, the tip of the metal broke. It was like that when I got it. It was covered in rust. I cleaned this one up and blued it. Found it on Facebook Marketplace for $50. Seller shipped it to me, and I went to work on it. I was bored, and I decided to spend the money and make this one. Brand new condition. The M3 knife goes for a good amount of money, so it was worthwhile to fix. That one is not really the star of the show. You can see it, but I'll get to that in a minute. This knife here was acquired through my older friend. You can see I got a lot of oil on these blades to keep them from rusting. Cut Master, Utica, New York. What's distinctive here is you've got the stacked washers, leather stacked handle. Now your first thought would be, compared to the next knife I'll talk about, wow, somebody used that knife down to the nib. As you can see here, it looks like it's been sharpened quite a lot. Almost half the blade's gone. I thought that too. However, this is one of the original patterns developed for the U.S. Army. So this was not sharpened down to nothing. I believe I paid $25 for this from my older friend Mark. I want to say he's about 76 at the time of this video. I got some tape here covering up one of the missing washers. I've yet to figure out a way to properly repair it because the rest of the grip is in such good shape that it's not worth it to me to destroy all of this to just fix the one washer. So I have that there just holding it together. Nothing permanent. Cut Master. Like I said before, I'm going off the top of my head. From my understanding, Cut Master went after K-Bar for using their design. Cut Master made a lot of other cutlery too for the United States at the time. If I had to guess, I wanted to say that this knife, the Cut Master, is from the 30s. Maybe 1936. So I'll bring you to the K-Bar. Little details that are important to notice. This groove. Essentially these two are the same. So I can use this knife to go over this knife. But they are very different, and I'll go over that. Same thing. Stacked leather grip. This one, as you can see, says K-Bar. So, what does that mean? Well, there's a lot of debate on what K-Bar or K-Bar stands for. The names flipped back and forth throughout the years, K-Bar, K-Bar. Nobody says K-Bar, they say K-Bar. what brings me to my theory. Firstly, I'm going to debunk it. There is no bayonet attachment. However, and I should have brought it out, the case knife, there is one with a bayonet attachment. This one does not have it, which leads me to believe, was this knife at one point given an adapter and lost to another government contract to be a bayonet? Possibly. Now, I'm not an expert on these. However, K.A. bar. How do you spell knife? With a K, right? What would the A stand for? Attachment. BAR. Well, we had the Browning automatic rifle at the time of World War II. Towards the end of World War I as well. So it leads me to believe this would be called knife attachment dash Browning automatic rifle. Now, if anybody in the comments ever got to the bottom of that, please let me know. I'll take any criticisms. It's not what I'm looking for. I'm just looking to learn more. But that is what I believe KA bar stands for. This one is marked USN MK2. Now, I just oiled these before the video, so it's hard to see what it says on the knife. I apologize. If you go over to this next knife, which is also, nope, it's not a K-bar. Very confusing. But why do they look the same? Remember, World War II, everybody was pressed into action. Every company made what was needed for our troops. So, yeah, they look the same. Stacked leather handle, the pommel here, rounded out. USN for US Navy, spelled out here, US Navy. But what is this knife? Oh, I believe I already went over this. I paid, I want to say, $80 for this from my buddy Mark. Big time World War II collector. Anyway, back on track. RHPAL 37. From my understanding, this is a Remington made knife. I forgot more than I remember about this knife, but you can see different patina. If we're looking at it, they're in US spec, same length, same everything. How to distinguish, you have, and don't mind my ugly scar here, this piece of wood, right? So they got a piece of wood there for support, where the K-bar does not. Down at the bottom, we got a red ring, also made of wood. Everything else is essentially the same, but you can see little details are different, where this is flattened out. This does not have that. A little bit more of a crude, they call it a blood groove, I call it an air groove. That's just so you don't create a vacuum. Then we got the clip point here. much more pronounced on the K-bar. On the Remington fighting knife, which really is their correct designation as a fighting knife, you got this clip point that goes up and it ends closer towards the blood groove. I'll just call it that for the sake of technicality here. A little bit of a difference. Maybe in some point in history you could see somebody tried to sharpen that. I don't recommend sharpening them unless you're going to use a stone. Otherwise, these are not for use. This knife here in particular, I found it at an antique store back in 2017 or 18. Probably 18 towards the end. All of these have the original sheath with them. I don't have it in the video because it takes up too much space. $165 for the Remington blade. It was worth it because it's not very common. A lot of times you can tell if something's pre-war when there's more attention to detail. That's not the law, that's not the rule, but it's an indicator. That could be the model number. I could look it up. Feel free to look it up. If I'm wrong, please let me know. Now the star of the show. This knife, very interesting and caught my eye. Firstly, I'm just going to shut my yapper, quit flapping my gums, get in close on this and show you what makes this knife different. All right. So what is this? As you can see, it appears to be a full tang blade. However, in the middle here of this tang, it's hollowed out. Okay? This is Western Knife Company out of Boulder, Colorado. So I want to say that the Remington was Syracuse, New York. K-bar is now in Olean, New York. I don't remember where they were. So these are all East Coast knives. Maybe not this one, I can't remember. I think they're all New York. What about our troops out west? After all, we were an entire country in the 50s. Western Knife and Tool Company. This is an extended length combat knife. Again, you have a similar stacked leather handle here. Couple gouges in here. You got a full length blood groove going from the base of the blade all the way up to the clip. Then you got your little false edge. While I'm at it, I don't know if a lot of people know that false edge. So when you go in, let's say you're skinning a deer, you go in, you're making kind of this motion. That provides a little bit of a wedge effect, so you're not pressing, the large spine up through the skin. Okay, let your mind do the thinking on that one. Anyways, compared to these two, this one has a much more hollow ground. It's like a perfect wedge. It's like a razor. They're all pretty hollow ground. If you were in person holding this knife, you would be able to tell right off the bat. So it's hard to show on camera. So this knife here, very interesting blade. It's longer than the K-bar. By about 3/4 of an inch. If I had to pick, I would pick this knife out of the two. I'm getting a little bit more reach. It's a beautiful knife. Don't get me wrong, the K-bars are a full tang. Comes through to the bottom. But this one here comes down and it comes out through the pommel there. It's not a stick tang, it's a full tang. If you can get your hands on these, it's well worth it. I believe I paid $125 for this at a different antique store with the original sheath. No brainer for me to pick this one up because I've never seen one of them and I'm here in Connecticut. So this did some traveling. Now the video's at almost 20 minutes long. If you're still here, let me wrap it up quick. Now we move to the late 50s, early 60s. We got a Camillus, New York. So the brand is Camillus out of New York. Another East Coast knife. Huge blood groove. What are those teeth for? It's not for wood. This is actually for aluminum. This is a pilot's knife. If you were trapped in the plane, you need to get out, it will never work. However, this is what that's for. Cutting aluminum. Much shorter, obviously. Clip point. Now, if you listen to what I paid for all these, you'd hear they're in the 100 range, minus the other two. $10 for this, and it's an original. You can find deals like this all over Facebook. Somebody in the middle of nowhere had a bucket of knives, said knives, $10. I went to go pick them up. It was like 20 knives. Well, they said, oh, it's only for one knife, not all of them. Obviously, it's too good to be true, so I wasn't mad. But this is the one I picked because the other ones were not quite this. What are these holes for? So, some cheap gimmick knives that you see nowadays will have this, but this one being pretty good. Well, it's great. It's excellent. These two holes, so you put a couple spikes. The idea is you throw it into a thicket or cantina wire and you pull the knife back and it grabs them and pulls it away. Usually it's not one on each side. Now, I could be mistaken on this particular knife. This could be for a different use. However, please correct me if I'm wrong, but you got the octagon. The sheath for this comes with a sharpening stone, and some other features. Alright, so let me conclude. This is a Western style combat knife that I came up with on my own accord. If you know how big a K-bar is, you can get a good grasp of... Let me move this out of the way here. How big this blade is. So, how did I do it? Well, this blade here is red maple. The blade itself is full tang, pinned in with 2 brass pins. The brass crossguard that I made is also pinned in with 2 brass pins. I have a little channel here for blood or water or whatever you're working with to flow through. Now, I love cowboys and cowboy history. Tombstone, The Man with No Name, all those. Longmire's a modern one I've been watching. Gunsmoke, Laramie, all those films and shows. So I designed it after a Western style fighting knife. I have an extended clip point on here. So the drop, well, it's a drop point, comes all the way back to midway. That adds to the balance, which is important. The blade itself is from an 1800 sawmill blade. This is allowed to rust, and then it's polished off and gives it that nice patina. At the length of this video, I'm going to recap that at another day. These are some of my projects. Oh, not this guy. Some of my projects. This is going to be a stacked leather handle. You can see the rust on that one. That's an old file. That's for the patina that I'm working on. And my very first ever knife I made, maybe some odd 18 years ago, out of a file. Now, I do forge my blades. I do temper them. I have a special tempering process that I use. There's a difference in knife making between tempering a blade, grinding a blade out from a piece of metal, and forging a blade. So what qualifies a blade to be forged? This is a forge knife. Started out as a square piece of metal, that thick by that big. And it was forged into shape. This is 5690 or something like that. Spring steel. It's actually from J.D. Smith, who participated on Forge and Fire. My friend got it for me, who took his course. Now, are we going to sit here and just make the knife and it's over? No. Obviously, there's a lot that goes into it. This blade is already forged and tempered. This blade has gone through the ringer. It's had 5 different handles. Of the 3 or 4 blades here, this one's hardened. This one's fully forged, tempered. This one's forged and tempered. Not a lot of forging on this one, just to get the shape cut out. And then it's all to the belt sander. That's going to be another video. Any questions, feel free to ask, and I'll put that in my next video. Let me try and do it some justice here. Kind of wanted to make something out of Red Dead Redemption 2, Arthur Morgan's knife. Not exactly the same. Alright, let me finish the video out by showing you the finished product of the Colt Combat Commander. Is it disingenuous I put that grip tape on there? Maybe. But I've included a clip of what it looked like before I put that on there. That greatly enhances the gun. But my last video was a repair job on the frame. Now, I don't know if any of you thought I put those nail marks in the front. I didn't do that. That's how I got it. Many different ways to do it. I did it the way I did it. Very excited with how this came out. This is a T-Sauce tanker slide. My options were, with all these lower parts that I added to the frame, that brought me to $350 plus $200 for the slide and barrel assembly. I'm up to $500. eBay has a listing for the slide and barrel assembly for, you guessed it, $600. That'd bring this up to $1,000 or more. Not worth it. Not worth it at all. Because, of course, I could just buy one that wasn't already ruined in the front. Thankfully, I fixed it. I did get all the original lower parts for this. I will include some video of how this shot and the groupings that it achieved at 25 yards. It's either 25 yards or feet, like whatever's further. I put the back strap here from the 1954 Colt because I wanted the lanyard loop. All the original nickeled parts for this. And I put in the 1954 Colt trigger because the other one was a little bit, and it's cleared, don't worry. The other one was a little bit rattly. So this was supposed to be a short video. I did this all in one take, and just wanted to show a little bit about knives. Any questions, comments, or if you have any knowledge for me, please comment below. I know that some people say that KA bar meant kill a bear or other things. I don't buy it. I'm liking the theory that it's knife attachment, BAR. So, with that being said, have a happy new year, and I'll see you in the next year.